Imagine this. You're finally on vacation, soaking up the sun, and then you get the call that your boss just fired you. It sounds unbelievable, right? Well, that's exactly what happened to me during my time in China, working on some of the most incredible projects. Think animatronic dragons and oversized lanterns for major shopping malls and festivals. But here's the twist. I owned the copyright to everything I created. In today's EO Malicious Compliance story from Underworld Justice, I'll take you through the shocking events that unfolded, the unexpected consequences of my boss's decision, and how I turned a frustrating situation into a win. Trust me, you won't want to miss this wild ride. And if you love stories like this, make sure to join our channel for exclusive content. It all started one humid summer morning in Shenzhen, China. The city was alive with the hum of construction, neon lights and constant motion, but for me, everything had finally slowed down. After 2 years of endless deadlines, working on mechanical dragons, giant light displays, and lantern festivals, I was finally taking a vacation. Just 1 week. Just one break. I still remember that morning vividly. The sunlight spilled across my balcony as I sipped tea, scrolling through photos of our latest creation. A 40-foot animatronic dragon that breathed smoke and blinked with LED eyes. My proudest project yet. It had taken months to design. Every movement, every sound, every flicker of light was a piece of my soul. But then, just as I was thinking how good it felt to finally rest, my phone buzzed. A message from HR. Subject: employment termination notice. At first I laughed. Surely this was a mistake. I hadn't even missed a deadline. But as I opened the email, the words hit me like a punch to the chest. Effective immediately, your employment with the company has been terminated due to restructuring. Please do not return to the premises. I froze. No phone call. No warning, nothing. Just a cold digital goodbye. I tried calling my manager. No answer. I texted my team chat. The messages were marked red, but no one replied. And then I saw it. The company's social media page, there it was. My dragon. Front and center on their new marketing campaign. Except this time the caption didn't mention my name. No lead designer. No credit. Just company's latest innovation. Our masterpiece. My masterpiece. I felt my blood boil. I had poured my heart into that dragon. I'd stayed up for nights perfecting its mechanics, adjusting its animation code, and designing every detail of its armor. And now, they'd taken it. And scrubbed my name off it. And fired me while I was thousands of miles away. That's when I realized this wasn't just a firing. This was theft. You see, I had read every line of my contract when I joined. Most people don't bother, but I'm paranoid about legal stuff. And there was one clause, one small but powerful line, that my boss had probably forgotten. Existed any intellectual property developed independently by the employee remains the sole property of the creator unless produced under direct corporate directive. And here's the catch. The dragon design wasn't created under corporate directive. It was something I'd begun sketching long before the company even approved the project. In short, the design was mine, and firing me before properly transferring ownership, that meant they'd just broken copyright law badly. So I called a lawyer. Her name was May. Calm, brilliant, and sharper than any blade. When I explained the situation, she just nodded and said, "Send me everything. Every sketch, every file, every timestamp. We're going to make them regret this." I sent over everything. Concept art, email threads, 3D renders, even screenshots of Slack messages showing I'd started the project on my personal laptop. Within 48 hours, She had drafted a full copyright claim and sent it directly to the company and to the Chinese Intellectual Property Court. The silence that followed was beautiful. A few days later, my ex-boss, Mr. Liu, finally called. "You ungrateful foreigner," he shouted into the phone. "You think you can sue me in my country?" I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "You shouldn't have fired the person who wrote the design code. Now you'll have to explain that to the authorities." He hung up. 2 days later, May called me with a grin in her voice. "They've responded. They're panicking. Apparently, the company's website, videos, and promotional materials had all been taken down under copyright suspension. Their social media accounts were silent. Clients were demanding refunds. The mighty Mr. Liu, the man who once walked through the workshop like a king, was now scrambling to cover up his mistake. But karma wasn't done with him yet. A week later, a journalist from a local tech magazine called me. They had heard about a designer whose work was stolen by his own company and wanted to hear my side. So I told them everything. Every unfair demand, every unpaid weekend, every threat I'd endured while building the company's flagship projects. When the article was published, it went viral overnight. Suddenly, Mr. Liu's company wasn't known as a leader in innovation. It was branded as a copyright violator. Even worse, international clients started backing out of contracts. No one wanted to work with a thief. 3 months later, we finally went to court. He stood beside me as we presented everything: sketches, design files, and email logs. The evidence was overwhelming. Mr. Liu's A lawyer tried to claim the dragon was a team effort, but then May pulled up the boom in timestamps, showing I'd designed the blueprint months before the project was even approved. The judge didn't take long. Verdict: full ownership rights awarded to the plaintiff, Mr. Liu's. Company was ordered to remove all instances of the design and pay damages for copyright infringement and wrongful termination. It was over. When May told me the result, I just sat there for a long moment, staring at the document. I wasn't smiling. I wasn't angry. I was just at peace, because for the first time I realized I had finally stood up for myself. A few weeks later, I launched my own design studio. Freelance work from Europe and the US started pouring in. I created animatronics for exhibitions, festivals, and even film productions, and yes, the dragon lived again. This time, under its rightful name, the Phoenix Dragon. It debuted at a festival in Seoul, where thousands of people gathered to watch it come alive. When the crowd gasped and applauded, I didn't think about revenge anymore. I just thought about the journey, because every betrayal, every unfair boss, every sleepless night had led me right here. Narrator's tone softens. Sometimes life's harshest endings are just redirections. Getting fired wasn't my downfall. It was my liberation. And as for Mr. Liu, last I heard, he shut down his company and moved to another city. No one hires a man known for stealing his employees' ideas. But me? I'm still creating. Still building. Still free. So what would you do if your boss fired you while stealing your work? Would you fight back or walk away? Let me know in the comments below. Your story might just inspire the next video. And if you enjoyed this story, hit like, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell. Because on Underworld Justice, we don't just tell stories. We remind the world that sometimes revenge doesn't come from anger. It comes from justice.